You speak a lot about your love for writing, actually.
Mm-hmm.
What is your process of like just being consistent with writing and how to get a feature out? Because not many people have at our level been able to write whole feature films, right?
Yeah, so for getting it done, because that was the thing that I was having a problem with
Mm-hmm.
and was trying to like overcome. I think the way that I did it is by doing 3 pages a day, minimum 3 pages a day. Sometimes I would do more. But the first feature film that I wrote, that I'm right now rewriting, because you know what, I do think that one's good. I take it back. That one is one that I really really love the story for it, and um and so I like had the idea, and I knew that I wanted to make it, and so I knew that it would be a good feature script to start with for my first one, because it is like kind of structured. um I'm sure all of us have ideas. You learn about story structure, and you're like, screw this, I'm gonna like do something crazy and abstract. And actually, the protagonist is the antagonist, and we learn 3/4 of the way through the film. And then the protagonist changes to this other character. It's like
Yeah.
and those are great. But for my first feature, I knew that I wanted a story that would like fit kind of into story structure, so I wouldn't be like trying to reinvent the wheel before I could like make the wheel.
Yeah. Right.
And so it was a story that I loved, and it also generally, not completely, but it kind of generally worked for a beginning, middle, end, and it had a protagonist all the way through. And so so I started by outlining. I spent like a month just figuring out. My outline wasn't really it's not a beat sheet, which I'll talk about a little bit later because that doesn't work for me. But it could work for you. It's my version of it was just this kind of like, I would draw out a line, and then I would put sort of like spokes on the line, and I would just draw like, okay, this happens here. And I mean, I'm sure like people's coming up with ideas is like different for everybody, but I think in general, you have an idea that you like, or maybe you come up like, oh, this would be a really cool shot or a cool character, and then I don't know, whenever I've been inspired like that, it's been followed by like a 2 week period of just I'm going grocery shopping, and I'm like, oh, and then there could be a scene where this happens, then blah blah blah. And I had some of those written down, so I just started. And this is a great thing to do off the bat, I think, because it just makes you feel good. I started out by just like taking all those scene ideas, and I looked at my line kind of like I'm a detective with one of those like sort of clue boards. And I was just like, okay, this scene probably belongs around here, and then this one belongs around here, and then whatever. And so then I like knew how I wanted to end it, so I was like, okay, the ending's here, and I knew what my midpoint was. I was like, okay, that's there. And all of a sudden I was like, wait, this is, I know where I'm kind of at. So then I spent a few weeks just sort of plotting out like mostly character arcs. The plot isn't something that I wanted to plot out. But the character, I wanted to know exactly like where they went and the change they went through and why. I did a lot of character work basically. And as I was doing that, you come up with more ideas for scenes, because you're like, okay, this character is this way, and so wait, that would be an interesting thing, blah blah blah. And so that whole time I am adding some more cards, and eventually I ended up with like, I knew exactly what my character arc was going to be, and I had a healthy number of scenes. Basically every like 10 or so pages, I kind of knew my checkpoints almost. I didn't have any of the fill in the blanks. Like, I know he ends up here, and that in the middle, like before that, he's here. I don't know what happens in there. But then I just started writing.
Yeah.
Because I think, and again, this is different for everybody. For me, I think when I'm outlining stuff, I'm thinking through it, which can be necessary for like the logic of a story. But when you're just writing, I'm like feeling it.
Yeah.
And so I thought through as much as I needed to before writing, but not like a thing more, so that when I started writing, there was a sense of freedom of like, anything could happen in the script. I know where it's going, and I know some things I want to happen. But so I started writing it, and it was 3 pages a day. And the important thing for me, because I know myself, and I know that like if I were to fall off for a day, I would stop. And so like if I gave myself like, oh, I'll just do like a cheat day, a break day, I would probably just never get back to it. And so I didn't let myself miss a single day. Even it was basically before I go to bed, I have to have written 3 pages. So a lot of the time I was writing like in bed. It was like, oh my God, I want to go to bed so bad. I've had like a busy day, but I can't go to sleep until I finish this. And so I started writing it 3 pages at a time. And then I went on my second road trip across the U.S. And so I was writing the film while I was driving around. So that was the other thing too. Is a lot of the time I would be writing it in a Walmart parking lot in an air mattress in the back of my minivan.
Wow.
And I'd be like, okay, I've finally set up for bed. It's 2 a.m. I need to go to bed, but I have to write my pages.
Yeah.
And so it was a really exciting thing because as I was writing, I was not holding myself to it being good. I was like, this is going to be a bad script, so screw it. I'm not even going to think about quality. I was just trying to have the most fun I could possibly have while writing. And so while it would be like, okay, I introduced a character and I put them in like a tricky situation. And then I've hit like 4 pages or whatever. I'm going to go to bed. And I'm like, man, what are they going to do? I don't even know. How are they going to get out of this one? And I just go to bed and I would wake up and, as I was driving and as I was doing stuff, I would just be thinking all day about like, man, like what's gonna happen next? Like, who is this person I just introduced? I don't even know. And sometimes I'd come up with ideas throughout the day. Sometimes I wouldn't. I'd just sit down and be like, what's the most fun I could have right now in this moment with this character or with this situation? And I just followed that. Like, I just went as fun as I could. And so what happened is I basically spent 2 months having the time of my life writing this thing. Basically every day, it was like I was watching like a serial or something, and it ends on a cliffhanger or something. I was like, oh my god, what are they gonna do? And then there's of course the thing of like, as I have a scene that I really want for the middle, and as I was getting closer to it, I was like, oh my god, this is so exciting! It's gonna happen soon. And so I kind of wrote my script as if I was just experiencing it as an audience. And it was the best writing experience of my life because it was just fun. I wasn't thinking about it being good. I wasn't thinking about like it getting produced. I wasn't thinking about anything. It was just purely story and like what I was enjoying. And so because of that, I got really into the characters and I got like really into the story, almost like as an audience member, equally to as a writer. And so then by the end, like there was a character that I like killed off at the end, and I've never experienced it. It's so pretentious to say, but it's true. I was like really sad. Like I started tearing up as I was writing the character dying, which I had never happened before. But it's because I was just like I felt like I'd just been spending the last month with this character, having a fun time and like doing fun stuff with them, and then now they're dying. It felt like an audience's perspective on a character death, and not just like a writer's plotting it. Yeah. And so, I wrote that all the way to the end, and I mean, I remember the very last day, I was just so excited about like, because my ending I'd known the whole time, and I was like, finally we're here, and it's this big set piece, and I was really excited about it. And so I got to the end and I wrote like 20 pages in that, like in a few hours. Like I was just so excited about it, and I knew what I wanted, and I like, and it was, and I finished it, and it was like 122 pages of a screenplay, and then I put it away and I did not look at it for like a year. Because it was just like that's the thing, I made it like not about writing necessarily. It was just about like me having a good time and like telling a story to myself, basically.
I love what you said about like just incorporating the funness into it, because if you're not having fun, you're not gonna hit 122 pages. You might, and it would take way longer, and you're like, you won't get as much out of it. So I love using the funness to like drive your writing process, and that's great.
I mean, if you're not having fun with your own story, then like what is the audience going to get out of it? I don't know.
Exactly.
And not all movies are supposed to be fun necessarily, but whatever you're trying to get across, like if you're not feeling it,
you gotta be invested for sure.
But at the same time, I think, and this is another a slight dig at USC, sorry again, but I think there's an attitude, and this isn't a purely USC problem. This is kind of a screenwriting guru problem or teaching problem. When you take a screenwriting class, or even like watch screenwriters or screenwriting teachers on videos, in general, there's an attitude about like, here's how you write, here's what you do. And there's really specific stuff about, the structure is super specific, or this has to happen on page 12, and this, you start by outlining, and you do a general outline, you do a skeleton outline, and then you go in scene by scene, you do that, and then you do this, and then you do that. And there's a great video that's I'll send it to you. It's a compilation, of interviews with some of the most famous screenwriters working today. A lot of them are writers, directors, but it's like Quentin Tarantino, Alex Garland, Greta Gerwig, Rian Johnson, whatever, like big writers who are working right now. And all of them are talking about how they outline. And the thing that will strike you when you watch it is that every single one of them has a completely different process. Like genuinely, like whatever, Quentin Tarantino outlines to the middle, then he doesn't anymore. Rian Johnson needs to know exactly what happens. I think Alex Garland has just like beats and then he fills in the blank. Like everyone's totally different because there's no way to write.
Right.
And so in general, because yeah, it that's something that a problem I've had with USC and like our screenwriting classes, but it's also, to be fair to them, it's just a problem in general with people who claim to know how to be a screenwriter.
Yeah.
So I think the big thing that I learned with writing my first feature was what worked for me. Like I guarantee you most people, if they tried to do it exactly how I just described me doing it, probably wouldn't like it that much. Because everyone needs to write differently. Like, you know, there's no one way to do it. So I think that's the most important thing, is to figure out what works for you specifically and to not hold yourself to some standard of some other person.
Yeah. How would you, suggest someone find what works for them? Just keep writing, or?
I think just trying stuff until it feels right, which it sucks because that takes a lot of effort and it's not like some easy way to do it. But listen to interviews with writers about what they do. And try some of that stuff out, because before I tried to write features and just writing in general, I tried like the specific outlining stuff, and then I tried just like general whatever, and I tried a lot of stuff, and then finally, just on that feature, that was just what worked, and it was working, and I was like, wait, this is good. This is what I want.
Yeah.
But I think just trial and error, and don't stress out too much about it.
Definitely.
And you can pick and choose what you like from. Try outlining, be like, I really, really like doing the skeleton outline, but I don't really like doing the beats. Or conversely, like, I really like doing this, but I want to get more specific with the outline before I jump in, or,